Hi, I am Councilwoman LaShawn Burr-Danley, and I'm here with my colleague,
Samuel Davis, Councilman Ward 3.
I tell you, Councilman Davis, can you believe we have another year celebrating Black History?
Yes, LaShawn is here, and it's time to go.
Well, I tell you what, let's just talk a little bit about just what happened back in the day.
You want to go down memory lane?
I do. You know, you look really great, Councilman Davis, to be born in the 1800s.
LaShawn, you got to be kidding. 1800s? I was born in the 50s.
I'm sorry. I tell you what, okay, well, let's just start from there. I remember some stories that my mom and my grandmother told me about a mule train that came through the city of Douglasville. And I wasn't born during that time, but you said that you were. Can you just kind of catch me up and tell me what happened?
Well, LaShawn, they came up Veteran Memorial, which was 78 Highway.
And who were they?
Willie Bolton, Jose Williams, and we have some shots of those pictures.
Okay, now tell me, why were they coming through the, I mean, out of all places, mules and people on a mule train, and you said there were horses, and I mean, why were they coming through the city of Douglasville? You
got to remember, LaShawn, I-20 was not finished.
Okay,
I don't remember. You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Well, LaShawn, they had to come up 78 from Birmingham, and they crossed over the tracks down in Ward 3.
So what were they coming from Birmingham for what purpose?
They was freedom fighters. They was going to Atlanta to get on the trains to go to Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay, all right. So how many people were there?
Probably close to 100.
Okay, so I-20 was not completed, so they took a shortcut.
All
right, took a shortcut down through the city of Douglasville, and you said they crossed the tracks.
But the one thing, the State Patrol would not let them go through until they got permission from Washington, D.C.
What State Patrol did that?
The State Patrol stopped the mule train, so they had to bed down in front of Stewart Middle School, which is R.L. Cousin back there then.
Oh, wow. So they went to, and I remember that Miss Catherine Wynn, she was one of the ladies that served them during that time.
Right, and Mr. Springer, Harold Springer. Back then you had civic clubs like Joe Henry Doan, Catherine Wynn, and others.
Right.
And the civic club was contacted, so they bedded them down right there in front of Stewart Middle School, which was our cousin at the time.
Wow. So the all of the people that were with the mule train and all the mules and all the horses, they were actually at Stewart Middle School?
Right, in a circle.
Was it Stewart then?
It was R.L. Cousin then.
Okay, all right, R.L. Cousin.
And it looked something like Bonanza, where all the horses and the trains and the tents and everything was in a circle.
Oh, wow, I bet that was real cool. So where were you? Did you actually get to see the horses and stuff?
I actually got to saw, I was a little kid then, up and down the street, which we live right down the street. So most of all the kids, it was exciting.
Wow, wow. How long did they stay?
They stayed a couple of days.
Wow. So
until they got the orders from Washington to let go.
You mean to tell me that they had to get orders from Washington, D.C. to continue their route?
Yes.
Wow. I tell you, I'm so glad that we do not have to experience stuff like that.
This is a good day, LaShawn.
It's a good day. It's a good day.
And I wasn't going down memory lane. Do you remember when Michael Jackson was supposed to come to the skating ring?
Let me see. How old was I when that happened? You mean the skating ring off of Fairburn Road?
92.
Oh, no, Sam. I told you I wasn't born back in that day. No, but I remember hearing that. Everybody showed up, and what happened?
The schools let out early, and the police were directing traffic, and Michael Jackson was supposed to show up at the skating ring.
Now, who spread that, Sam?
Well, Alvin Pugh Production. We stayed out there all day long waiting on Michael to come, and he never showed up.
Oh, wow.
So the schools let out early, so finally we dispersed.
That's funny. That is so funny. Councilman Davis, I tell you, I wish that we had more time for you to tell me funny stories about the mule train and Michael Jackson, and that is so cool. But, you know, we have some individuals that are going to come in and talk about their experience growing up in the city of Douglasville, and let's look at what they're doing now, and how can they encourage our youth that to keep dreaming, and let's do that. What do you think?
That's fine, LaShawn, and we'll be right back.
All right.
Thank you.
The Civil Rights Movement, led by many of our great leaders, propelled African Americans to begin settling in areas mainly inhabited by whites. Pushing the norm was nothing new for blacks during this time. My grandfather, Jesse Davis Sr., was among those who pushed the envelope, developing and coaching one of the first Negro semi-pro baseball teams in the Atlanta area called the Winston Pros. My grandmother, who raised me from a child, frequented those games and often noted and marveled about the tenacity my grandfather had on and off the field. Off the field, he was heavily involved in many communal organizations used to advance both black and white causes in Douglas County. My upbringing in northern Douglas County was a result of people like my grandfather and the support and love of my grandmother. My upbringing was normal, yet exotic, all in the same regard. Normal in the sense that I attended local public schools and played in local sports and knew many of the community, but exotic because the wisdom I gained from my family and church family go unparalleled to what many may find growing up. Most of my friends were black, and many of what I knew was black. As the years went on, my schooling experiences became more and more of a diverse experience. Douglasville grew more and more important in instilling in me the values of small town living. Through it all, I ventured away to Cornell University, where I attained my undergraduate degree, and then subsequently to Georgetown University for my graduate schooling. Now I serve our great nation in the diplomatic corps, currently serving in Mexico. I'd like to say that Douglasville had some hand in my success. From the far end of northern Douglas County, where my Uncle Samuel Davis serves as city councilman, where my roots originate, to the rest of the world, I have seen a great deal already. But I must always say and reveal that there's just no place like home. So keep Black history alive and remember your roots. God bless America, and God bless Douglas County, Georgia. Thanks for your time.
Welcome back to Continuing Moments, African American History in the City of Douglasville. Well, Councilman Davis, we have a guest here.
Yes,
I am honored. I tell you, I am honored. Our own Deputy Chief Sparks. How are you?
Fine.
And how are you, Deputy Chief?
Doing great.
I tell you. Well, Deputy Chief Sparks, Councilman Davis and I were discussing prior to your entrance about the mule train that came through the city of Douglasville. Were you familiar with that?
Oh, yes. I remember I was probably 8, 10 years old.
Wow.
And as fate would have it, I grew up in Winston.
Mm-hmm.
And me and a lot of my friends, back then, little boys, ride those bicycles till they fall, till the rubber fall off the rim. And me and my friends, we had rode our bicycles up to a Ferris Richardson store, which is located at Bankhead Highway in Winston. Mm-hmm. And going in there to buy some little, we used to call them hard time cookies, two for a penny cookies.
Oh, Lord.
So we go in there, and when we come out, there's the wagon train.
Wow.
The wagon train, and and people coming from Mississippi, and I think it was the Poor People March.
Wow.
Or the March on Washington that Dr. King was having.
So that is so ironic that just during that time you just happened to be outside to see that.
It was, because I was, as a young boy, we always watched news.
Right, right.
I always watched news in the evening to see what was going on through those times, because it was hard times. You just seeing turmoil going all over, and people just wouldn't get together.
Wow.
And so I was always interested in that. And,
right.
When they passed by, I really wanted to get in that train and ride my bicycle. Because we had thought about it, man, but we want to go. We want to go. You know, but we didn't.
Oh, that is so
I think
cool.
we rode the bicycle up to about Winston Elementary School. And,
Wow.
we went on home and found out that evening that the governor at the time was Lester Maddox. He had given an order here in Douglas County, had the sheriff arrest the leaders of that
Wow.
of the wagon train, and then you know, that was bad. But fate would have it, a call was I remember from Washington, and they had to let him go.
Wow, that's
right. That's
amazing
correct.
that they would have to get permission from Washington. I'm glad we don't have to go through that. But let's just talk about you for a few moments. So you grew up in Winston,
Georgia.
and tell us about your experience, just, you know, being a child growing up, and, you know, where you attended school in elementary and middle school, high school, and just kind of tell us a little bit about that.
I'm Winston bred, and so I started off elementary school going over to presently is Simpson Funeral Home.
Okay.
I went
Are
to
you that old?
You know.
You mean, was it
I'm getting old.
Hutchinson High? Was it Hutchinson High?
It was,
You were in school then?
yes, but
Wow.
the thing over there, the school was integrated, and all the African American young kids from the 1st and 3rd grade in Douglas County went to school there.
So you were bused from Winston
Yes.
all the way into the city of Douglasville
Yes.
to a full population of all African Americans in that one school.
In that one school, and it had like three or four classroom, large classroom,
Wow.
big pot-belly stove in there. And,
Oh, wow.
you know, and you got your education, or back then, you if you wasn't doing what the teacher said, you know, she straightened it right there.
All right, all right.
And so then, once you got in the 3rd grade, we went to R.L. Cousin.
Okay.
Because R.L. Cousin was broken down in, I think, elementary, and then one section was junior high, and then the high school was on the other side. And if you was a small kid like me in the 3rd grade, don't get caught over there on the high school side. Those guys will run you back over there.
What, do you remember that, Councilman?
I remember they catching me in the restroom and
Yeah.
and knocking up against the walls, and you hurry up and leave
You
out
mean
of
the
there.
high school students?
Yeah, they were like,
High
get on
school
over
guy.
here, little boy. You know you're supposed to be over here. Get on over
right.
here. What you trying to hang out
Wow.
over here for? But they were teaching, said, no, you stay at your age group. Don't.
That's
you,
right.
You have no business over here. It wasn't
Right.
no bullying type thing. Like,
Right.
hey, you're not where you're supposed to be.
That's right.
Whether you was out there on the corner,
Right.
where they were, and they were doing that thing.
Right.
Hey, you're not where you're supposed to be. Get off this corner.
Kind of hang around your own age group.
Yep.
Don't be in conversations with grown people. I remember
right.
that.
Yeah.
So it was segregated during that time.
Very much so. And then I was in the 3rd grade, and then all African Americans. Then it's just like one day I woke up, and my mom and dad carried us to Winston Elementary
Wow.
in the 3rd, about the 3rd or 4th grade, to an integrated school.
Just one day you just woke up and you were there.
I woke up and life was different.
How did it feel?
I think back, I was okay with it, because one thing, you know, I think my mom was preparing me and my sister, because, you know, every night before we go to bed, she would say, do unto others you have them to do unto you.
Okay, right.
You know, and honor thy father and mother that your days may be long. She always said those things. I wasn't
Right.
into no black and white thing. I watched it on the news.
Right.
I knew integration was coming. So when it's about 4 of us, me, my cousin Kathy, and Harvey Parker, and Greg Williams, Barbara, we went to Winston Elementary, you know, and being on the African Americans there, you know, it was a little, we had a little
A
problems.
little awkward a little bit.
A little bit, but
Yeah.
most of the kids was good, because the kids that understood racism, they had to be taught by their parents. So those were the ones that come up and call you names.
Wow.
You know, but most of the kids, you know, they wasn't name callers, and we had a few fights. You know, I would like to fight anyway. You know, so I'm a fighter, so that wasn't no big deal. But some of the kids I met back then is, you know, like Mike Mitchell, that runs Mitchell Appliance. Good man.
Oh, you went to school with him?
Yeah,
okay.
I've been knowing Donna Camp. Donna works over at the district attorney's office.
Oh, wow. How interesting. So you're familiar with them too, Councilman Davis?
Yeah, so, and, you know, Dave Hunter, some of those kids that I went to elementary school when we first integrated, I still know them and see them through passing.
That's good.
And they were good, you know.
That's good.
We didn't have no problem.
Wow. Well, you know, Deputy Chief Sparks, it's just an honor that you are the first African American Deputy Chief Sparks in the city of Douglasville. How did you get to the point of where you are now?
A lot of hard work and prayer and just I was doing the right thing. I went to Fort Valley State University and received a degree in criminal justice and struggled through there. Because, you know, some people say, well, I had a teacher tell me, you're not college material. But, you know, my mom, them, here they go again. You know, I was out of high school working, and my dad and mom, they carried me down to Fort Valley, and 5 years later,
did what
I
you
had
had
a
to
degree.
do. So you always wanted to be a police officer?
No, I didn't. It was just I wanted to deal something with law because you know, I told you when I was young, we used to always sit around the TV and watch the news and see what was going on. I always wanted to just fight injustice.
Wow.
If I seen some thing going wrong, I just always wanted to just make what I used to see as a kid wrong. I wanted to make it right.
Right.
And so I got to Fort Valley. I started off in business, but the business department felt that you don't need to be.
They felt that.
Oh yeah, you know, I started taking some of those classes, and they were like, "Nah, you know." So I went to the humanities building, and let's get into this law.
Okay.
Let's get into that. Something I could read, comprehend.
Right. And you're still doing it. I just heard you say that you wanted to make sure that things were done right, and that just bring me into memory, or not even memory, but what you're doing right now with the Youth Against Violence, and you've headed that program for quite some time. And how do you see the children then, when you grew up, compared to some of the children that you deal with today in 2011?
You know, when I was growing up, you know, the times are different. You know, these kids have a lot of, you know, technology. They have things to take away from their commitment to community.
Right.
It's this big hustle and bustle now, because when I was growing up, you know, you hear that saying, the village raised a kid. Well, back then, you know, you out somewhere and you doing something wrong, wherever you're doing something wrong, they straighten you right there. They didn't worry about your parents coming over there and say, why you fussing my kid? Why you whoop little Larry over here? Little Larry was showing out. You know, because when your parents found out that you was over there doing something wrong when they went to church on Sunday, and you didn't tell them, then you're going to get it again. Why you over there at Miss Mary's house doing all this, boy? I was like, oh, Lord, have mercy. They even told on me. So, you know, but today, you know, that'd be a fight. Somebody straighten your kid up. Why you talking to my kid? You leave my kid alone. You know, if they're trying to give a child some instruction to make them better, you know, I think that's the right thing to do. But you know, now, you know, we used to play and have to think of ways to entertain yourself in games and things. You know, we get together and we and we play ball. We out there, we exercise. And, now the kids just go in and get a computer and they just play in the computer. They're getting fat.
Wow, did you?
Not all of them.
Wow,
a lot of them.
Yeah,
they go back there. They don't. They don't
get
out
outside.
riding bicycle, playing ball, climbing trees, and and we change with the times. It was, a lot of kids, today they don't see the importance. Some of them don't see the importance of the education.
Right.
It's the music got them. The music has them tripping.
I think church too. I think I remember there were times, and even when I grew up, we didn't miss church. It was not an option if we attended church or not. You were going. Period.
Yeah. I was in all the Sunbeam Choir. Every time
Youth
the door
choir.
opened,
You were there.
Yeah, I was in like two. It was and see back then, I was in the New Mountaintop Sunbeam Choir, and then I go to New Belter after singing their choir. So everybody was.
That's right.
That's what it needs to get back to. But the kids, I have faith in them. They're gonna, all our kids are not out committing crime and destroying the community. We just have to keep hope and prayer. And keep giving them the ability to change if they want to change.
Right.
Because if we don't, they're our future.
What is it going to look like?
It's going to look like.
Right. Did you ever imagine that you would be deputy chief?
Shoot, no, not really. And no, I never thought about it. You know what? It's a title. I'm glad I got it. But I don't look at it like that. I just look at it as I was just doing the job. I just me and 90 other police officers, men and women that work for the police department. We all a team. I don't.
That's
you ask me about it, don't think about it. Well, it's good, but I don't look at it in that way. I just look at it like I'm part of a team, and now's my opportunity to do this, and I'm going to have to leave it to someone else, and I hope I make it better for them when I leave.
Well, I tell you, we are just really proud of you, and it's just an honor the way you serve. And you've been serving for how long?
Here about 24 years. I really don't know. I think
he was back in the early days, I believe.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
I caught a little of that too. But it's 20. Councilman Davis, I already haven't tell. How old are you? You haven't already tell my age.
I already said he was born in the 1800s.
Yeah, but I'm proud of my age. I'm glad I've been able to live this long.
Deputy Chief, I'm proud of you because when we have our celebrity basketball game, oh my goodness, you run up down the court like you 30, 40.
Have we won a game? Is our city
we come close. We come
real close.
I'm still a fan.
I think we won one year.
Did you?
But I think last year, our guys, we showed up, we showed out.
Showed out good.
It was close, but I guess that only comes in horseshoes.
Right. Oh, wow. 24 years.
About 24 years I've been here, and I still love it because I still enjoy getting up in the morning and coming to work.
That's good. Love the city of Douglasville, born and raised here.
So, Deputy Chief Sparks, if there was something that you could say to our audience and specifically our youth, what would you tell them?
To follow their dreams, and they got to find God, or whatever God they feel in their heart is there. That God that's going to propel them to do some righteous things, some right things. Just tell them there's hope is still here and hope is still alive, and just have a listening ear. Have a listening ear. Shut the mouth up a little bit, and listen from an instructive tongue that people when they're trying to tell you what's right.
Right.
And you know, and your heart of hearts, you'll know if someone telling you something right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And just look for people that's doing right and to follow.
Right, like a mentor.
Yeah,
right.
And you know, get with people, because there's a lot of people that want to help the young people. You know, some of them are going in the wrong way and joining these gangs and that sort of thing. But you know, look for a mentor that's going to give them proper instruction and help them out. You know, no matter what the situation may be, because some of these kids living in some homes where the grandmama is 28 or 30 years old. You know, so they not really getting any. We used to call it home training.
Right.
That's right.
You know,
right.
So
that's right.
You know, so they raising themselves, the ones that's in that situation, and don't just take because you're in a single family atmosphere that you can succeed. But
you can do it.
You can do all things through Christ.
Oh, wow.
So
that's awesome.
So you know, just keep the head up and be humble.
Right, that's good. And you're very humble. Well, I tell you, thank you, Deputy Chief Sparks, for coming. I tell you, are so funny. We could go on, but
I seen some of those pictures over there of the mule train too. So, I was gonna follow that mule train.
I tell you guys, we'll have to finish this conversation another time. But we just want to thank you for being part of our continuing moments in our African American history and the city of Douglasville. And Councilman Davis, we'll be right back. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House and the good people of America, I rise on a very special occasion to pay tribute and to recognize the outstanding and excellent work of one of my constituents in Douglasville, Georgia, in Douglas County. This is an extraordinary story. This individual, young Mr. Ricky Dobbs, who is a native of Douglasville, Georgia, and a graduate of Douglas County High School, has gone on to excellence and greatness in an extraordinary career of academic achievement as well as athletic achievement. During his years as a Douglas County High School student, he portrayed such a commendable attribute that his teachers affectionately referred to him as the mayor. He was the recipient of the Faculty Cup at his commencement ceremony in 2006. Ricky Dobbs, who has demonstrated outstanding achievement both in academics, was accepted into the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis. And in sports, he is leading the Navy football team as its quarterback. And what a quarterback he has become. In the 2008 Navy football season, Ricky Dobbs rushed for 498 yards and 8 touchdowns, and Navy was honored at the White House in April of 2009 for winning a 6th straight Commander-in-Chief's trophy by our President, Barack Obama. And in his role as a quarterback for the Navy midshipmen in 2009, Ricky Dobbs broke the single-season college record for the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. Yes, indeed, Ricky Dobbs, this young man, finished with the NCAA record of 27 single-season rushing touchdowns and was named the game's most valuable player in the 2009 Texas Bowl. And Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the Congress, Ricky has thrown just 4 interceptions in his entire career as quarterback for the Navy. A .330, the lowest interception percentage in Navy football history. Ricky Dobbs has scored 4 or more rushing touchdowns on 4 different occasions. In other words, 4 touchdowns in 4 different games, including 3 times in 3 games this past year. No other Navy player has more than 1 career 4 rushing touchdown day, and that includes the legendary Roger Staubach. Ricky Dobbs comes from a humble beginning. He has a family, a loving family. And when you give credit and you recognize the achievements of a young man or a young lady, you certainly have to recognize the achievements of those parents. Barbara Cobb and Clarence Dodd have done an additional, just a remarkable job of rearing this young man. But we can't stop there, for when you recognize the achievement of Ricky Dobbs of Douglasville and Douglas County, you've got to recognize that entire community that has put its arms around him and reared and nurtured this outstanding young man to soar in academics as well as perform excellently in record-shattering circumstances on the football field for the prestigious Naval Academy. You know, ladies and gentlemen of the Congress, when you look at this, one word comes to mind, and that word is excellence. And you know, when that word was put to the great philosopher Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher Aristotle was asked, what does it take to be an excellent person? Aristotle said, in order to be an excellent person, you must first of all know thyself. Well, this Ricky Dobbs not only knew himself or know who he was, he also knew whose he was and is, and that is, he's a child of God. The question was later put to the great emperor and general, Marcus Aurelius of Rome. He said, Marcus Aurelius, what does it take to be an excellent person? And Marcus Aurelius replied and said, in order to be an excellent person, you must first of all discipline yourself. What discipline it took to achieve academically at Douglas County High School, and then to move up to the prestigious Naval Academy and set these astounding, record-shattering records on the football field. And then finally the question was put to the great Messiah, Jesus Christ, when he was asked, what does it take to be a great person and an excellent person? Jesus said, sacrifice yourself. And as a military person, he is doing that for his country. Let's give this tribute to this outstanding young man and make this day, ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Dobbs Day in this United States of America. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, glad to be back again. And our guest today is Renee Davis. Glad to see you, Renee. Glad you took out your busy time to come out and be a part of this history.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm sorry, Councilman Davis, were you going to?
Well, you know, I just want to let them know that Renee and I grew up together. We're cousins.
Oh, wow.
First cousins. Davis
and Davis.
Right.
Davis and Davis.
Okay.
So I'm glad she had a chance to come out and be a part, and it's going to be promising, and the education is uphill.
Oh, wow, education. Well, I'll tell you, Renee, can you just expound a little bit about your experience growing up in the city of Douglasville as a child, and, you know, what schools that you attend, and, you know, college? Just talk about that a little bit with us.
To me, there is no place like Douglas County. I mean, I've visited a lot of places, but I always want to come home. And growing up here, I have fond memories of the neighborhood and the kids in the neighborhood and playing and just things that we did back growing up. Starting school at R.L. Cousins before it became Stewart Middle School. I went there in first grade.
Oh, wow.
And I knew from day one that I wanted to be a teacher. I knew day one that education was my field. Idris Long was my first grade teacher. Oh. And I would think back to her classroom and just watching her, and that knew that that was something that I wanted to do. And then with the integration of the schools, I went to Eastside Elementary and then to Burnett, Stewart, and Douglas County High School. Magistrate Judge Barbara Caldwell always tells me when she sees me that I'm the only person that she knows that said that they, from the time they were a child, wanted to be a teacher. Briefly, I changed that, but it always came back to education.
So I just heard you say something. You went to R.L. Cousin, and then you attended East Side Elementary, and at that time the schools were integrated.
Integrated.
Can you just tell me the difference of leaving R.L. Cousin, going to East Side, when the schools were segregated when you began and then integrated at East Side?
I think the biggest difference that I noticed as a child is leaving R.L. Cousins, where the population was all African American. I think maybe there were 2 Caucasian students in our class at that time at R.L. Cousins.
Oh, wow.
I remember the name of one. I can't remember the name of the other. But just thinking, you know, you're in a school, it's 1 through 12, K through 12. And everyone there is African American.
Right.
And I really didn't understand what it was. I just knew I was going to a different school.
Okay.
I didn't really have an understanding of what was going on. In first grade, then I go to East Side, and now I go to a school that is majority Caucasian.
Right.
But there are still my African American friends that I grew up with, the kids from the neighborhood who were there. So, and seeing teachers who were Caucasian. So that for me is the biggest memory I have in terms of the integration, not really knowing what was going on, just knew that I was going to a different school.
So children were just children.
Children were children.
You played together, you were together. Teachers, the difference between the teachers at R.L. Cousin and the teachers at East Side.
And I didn't really notice any difference. Maybe it was because I was young, and maybe it was just because they did a good job transitioning us into East Side at that time.
So you grew up in the city of Douglasville, you attended school, East Side, R.L. Cousin, Douglas County High School?
Douglas County High School.
Okay, and then from there, what after graduation?
I went to West Georgia College, didn't go far from home.
Okay.
Went there and majored in education, and came back after graduation and took my first teaching position at Arbor Station Elementary School.
Oh, wow.
Where I taught for 8 years.
What grade?
Third grade. All 8 years, third grade.
Wow.
I like third graders.
Okay.
And after that, I went to Dorset Shoals Elementary as an assistant principal for 4 years, and then I became principal of Annette Wynn Elementary School.
Wow. Did you ever see yourself as being a principal, or did you always want to be in the classroom?
I did not see myself as being a principal. I felt like I possessed leadership abilities, but my goal, honestly, when I started, I thought, well, I'll teach for 10 years, and then I wanted to open my own daycares.
Okay.
And that was the thing. But once I got in, the administrators in the school saw leadership potential in me, and they encouraged me to pursue administration. And I did at their urging, and it just took off from there.
Wow. So from being a principal at, you said, Annette Wynn, Dorset Shoals.
Was AP.
AP, okay, assistant principal. So, so now what are you doing? What are you doing now?
I am the Title I director for the school system for Douglas County.
Oh, wow.
And I'll go back. I opened North Douglas after leaving Annette Wynn. I opened it. That was one of the goals I had, was to open a new school from the ground up, and that was a really important experience. But now I'm Title I director, and Title I. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Just a little bit, but you can give us a little briefing. You know, the audience may not be, so sure, go ahead.
Title I is a federal program that provides additional funding to schools that have high poverty, and poverty is judged by the number of students on free and reduced lunch.
Okay.
And so those schools receive additional federal funding, and it allows them to supplement the regular instructional program. They have the same curriculum that everyone else has, but they have additional funding, so they can they use additional teachers. They can hire additional teachers. They have additional resources.
Wow.
They may have things that other schools don't have because of that funding.
Okay. But if there was something that you could tell our audience, specifically our young people, in regards to education, you've always had a passion, what would you say to them today?
I would say to set goals. That's the first thing that you need to do. Set goals. What do you want to do in life? And don't rely on athletics to make you successful. And then to study and do your work and strive to have a deeper understanding of things. Don't just settle for less. Always know that you want more. And pursue that. And realize that life sometimes guide you in a different path, but at least have a foundation and know where it is that you want to go.
And where did you get your foundation from?
My parents.
Your parents.
My parents.
Your parents.
And my grandparents were there as well. So, but I would say it came from my parents. Education was always important to my parents. There was no doubt.
Wow.
And I knew that my grades had to be good or otherwise I was in trouble. And I never really knew until after I graduated from high school. I heard my mother tell one of her friends one day, I didn't care what she made in school as long as I knew she did her best.
Wow.
But she didn't tell me that until after. I didn't hear that until after I graduated. So then it was like, okay,
what a
if
great
I'd
mom.
known that. But
what a great mom. What a great mom. Well, I tell you, this has been exciting.
I know it. What I'm trying to remember, Renee, you was in the band one time.
I was.
Oh,
I was a drum
okay.
major at Douglas County High School.
Are you
That's
serious?
right. Yeah.
Okay. So were you there with Lewis Cobb?
I was
Junior?
there.
He's
I was
no longer
older.
with us.
Mhm.
Okay, you were
Yes.
drum major?
I was drum
Oh,
major.
my
That's right. I
gosh.
remember.
And you played the drums too, right? That is
1980.
awesome.
I graduated in 1980, but 79, 80
Go
I was drum
ahead,
major.
Renee. That's awesome.
That's
well, I
right.
tell you, this has been a pleasure.
It is.
I knew a little about you, but now I know a lot. And I think it's awesome that you grew up here and you've come back and you're still working in our school system where you grew up. And that is absolutely awesome.
That's important to me, and it means a lot to me to work with at the schools that I attended. That just speaks volumes for me.
Absolutely.
And
okay.
so,
Well, I tell you, this is exciting. We're going to wrap it up, and I know that your schedule is busy today and you have your hands full, but we continue always to think about you often as other African American leaders right here in the city of Douglasville and throughout the state of Georgia.
Renee, it's been nice having you
Yes,
here on
thank
our
you.
set, and hope you can come back again. Just let us know, and we'll be right back. with
All right.
more.
Thank you, Renee.
thank you.
Councilwoman Danley, it's been a pleasure being with you today with our guests.
It has, Councilman Davis, and I tell you, celebrating another year of our African American history, Black history, in the city of Douglasville. We are so grateful for our guests that were here with us interviewing, and I'm so excited that we have this opportunity to look back at our history, and we'll have a chance to do it again.
You're right.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Hope you have a great month.